In the TASS news agency interview in Moscow, Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov discusses the geopolitical shift following the military escalation in Ukraine, outlining why relations with Western nations have reached a point of no return. Lavrov asserts that the current conflict has exposed a fundamental breakdown in international agreements and underscores Russia's strategic path forward.
But patience eventually runs out. It is no coincidence that shortly after the special military operation began, the president, commenting on our relations with the West and Europe, concluded that things will never be the same as they were before February 2022.
The West has simply gone mad. No one intends to follow any agreements, even old ones that worked for decades. And of course, everything is breaking down. We know and feel this. In this situation, what alternative do we have to offer the world?
First, we must defend our legitimate interests. To offer anything to the world, we must win. The world is watching with great attention, and some with bated breath, to see how this war, imposed on us by the West and in response to which the President announced the special military operation, will end.
According to the Russian Foreign Minister, the geopolitical objective of the Western alliance has returned to a familiar historical pattern. He argues that the rhetoric of inflicting a strategic defeat is designed to weaken and partition the Russian Federation, echoing Western ambitions from the period surrounding the collapse of the Soviet Union.
When they saw separatist movements in the Far East, the Urals, and the Caucasus, hoping everything would fall apart so they could pick up the pieces.
Подразумевается расчленение нашей страны в очередной раз. Возрождение тех надежд, которые на этапе исчезновения Советского Союза тоже Запад испытывал, глядя, как на Дальнем Востоке, на Урале сепаратистские движения появились, не говоря уже про Кавказ, и лелея надежду на то, что все это сейчас развалится, и можно было по кусочку подбирать.
They were probably already figuring out who would get what.
And we were just one step away from that, right? We had Urals francs in circulation.
Of course, yes. Everything was on the brink.
Все было на грани.
And the fact that Boris Yeltsin found the courage to hand over power early?
Нашел в себе, прямо скажу, мужество передать власть досрочно. Это
and handed it to the only person who, at that moment, could save Russia.
На тот момент смог сохранить Россию.
Lavrov frames the conflict as an existential struggle to preserve Russia as an independent civilization. He explains that Moscow intends to secure its national borders while building alternative networks of global cooperation, such as the BRICS alliance, based on equal partnerships rather than Western dominance.
So we remain an independent power, an independent civilization.
Самостоятельной цивилизацией.
So our borders are secure, so no one even thinks of telling us how to live within Russia. And so all peoples of the Russian Federation continue to live.
Советовать, как устраивать свою жизнь внутри России, и чтобы все народы Российской Федерации продолжали
enjoying constitutionally guaranteed rights to education, culture, traditions, and their religious beliefs.
На сохранение культуры, традиций, своих религиозных убеждений.
In this capacity, Russia will want to cooperate on equal terms with other emerging major centers, like China and India.
Центрами, которые формируются, это и Китай, и Индия.
So these major players, along with us, will champion justice, hoping the West will eventually come to its senses.
В надежде на то, что Запад тоже когда-то придет в себя.
Europe in particular, and be ready to fit honestly and equally into these new relations.
На равных, по-честному встраиваться вот в эти новые системы отношений.
For now, it is not ready, and the United States is absolutely not ready either. And so, we wait.
Ожидание.
As this drags on, These new power centers are building their own networks, like BRICS, which attracts the leading economies of the global majority to solve issues, unlike NATO, where America commands, and everyone obsequiously tries to please the hegemon.
Делается в том же НАТО, где Америка командует, и все пытаются так вот подобострастно каким-то образом ублажить гегемона.
And certainly not like the EU, where the Brussels bureaucracy has usurped the rights of national governments.
Addressing the economic pressure of thousands of international sanctions, Lavrov attributes Russia's resilience to its vast geography and historical industrial achievements. He emphasizes that the foundations laid during the Russian Empire and the Soviet Union continue to protect the nation from external economic collapse.
Thanks first of all to our ancestors who built the richest, largest country in the world, with access to seas and oceans that lets us develop trade and secure ourselves with the Navy.
Которые такую страну создали, богатейшую страну в мире, самую большую страну в мире, выходящую на моря, океаны, что позволяет развивать и торговлю, обеспечивать нашу безопасность с подключением военно-морского флота.
Of course, the industrialization that began in the Russian Empire is widely discussed now, with railways connecting the country and the foundations of ferrous metallurgy laid then, and certainly industrialization under the Soviet Union.
Металлургии и, безусловно, индустриализация уже при Советском Союзе.
In a very short time, in just a decade or 15 years before,
До
the start of the Great Patriotic War, colossal achievements were made, and this also largely helped prevent a catastrophe.
Могло не допустить катастрофы.
The foreign minister dismisses Western diplomatic initiatives and proposals for a frozen conflict. He characterizes suggestions for a ceasefire followed by the deployment of European military forces as an unacceptable ultimatum that fails to recognize Russia's territorial claims or address the root causes of the confrontation.
So when the West says we will think about when we, the West, decide to resume talks with you, but these talks will involve Europe, America, Zelensky, and Putin.
Чтоб сидела Европа, сидела Америка, Зеленский, Путин.
And before that, a truce and ceasefire must be declared.
Объявить перемирие, прекращение огня.
After a ceasefire, we Westerners will deploy a multinational force led by France and Britain. And then we'll sit down and talk. What does this mean? It is an ultimatum. The Nazi regime will remain. Everything freezes at the line of contact. We won't recognize any territories where you held referendums. But the character of our people is unique because
Оно все-таки уникально тем, что
remember the Soviet song, Our Own Pride? It didn't just appear with the Soviets. Russians always had it, and that pride remains.
In his concluding remarks, Lavrov links the current military campaign directly to the legacy of the Second World War. He positions the present conflict as a continuation of the struggle against fascism, asserting that Russia has no option but to defend its civilizational identity.
But I want to emphasize and declare this once again. We are today completing the heroic work of both our grandfathers and our great-grandfathers who fought and destroyed Nazism, while those who were once our former allies saved this Nazism. We know the fate of the Wehrmacht generals who found both shelter and a home in the West.
И дом, и кровь.
And now, what should have never? No one could have ever thought this would happen, but Nazism is openly reviving, and no one even hides it. So, we have no other choice if we want to remain our Russian civilization.
Нашей русской цивилизации.